Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
Welcome to the show. I am Robert Curtis, also known as Lucky. I am the professional idiot. I am a columnist for WhatCulture.com and a frequent contributor to MMAshare.com. Today we have a very exciting show. We have our first guest ever on the podcast, and that is UFC fighter Tim Means. Tim Means is going to be fighting on the UFC on Fox 5 card this December 8th, which is in a week and a half. He'll be fighting Abel Trujillo, who'll be making his promotional debut. Stick around for that. But first, we have some quick announcements before we get to the interview. The first is, we have a name. We asked the people, give us a name. We got lots of responses. Some of them aren't repeatable in public. Apparently, we have nasally voices, so thank you for that. But our name, let's get back to our name. The name is Getting Lucky, and that was given to us by Rob Danum, so thank you for that. Getting Lucky with Robert Curtis. I also want to say a quick thank you to Sisori, our dear Sassy, for his suggestion for our intro and outro music. Next week we'll be doing a preview for UFC on Fox 5. We'll do a preview show, probably post around Tuesday, and just after we'll do a review show. And for that we'll have a guest host, Tom Burton, or as he's known on MMAshare.com, Smoke 'em. Lastly, Coach Rich asked a poll question, should we do another Pick'em tournament? Normally he only does them for the pay-per-views, but with the UFC on Fox card having 13 fights, he figured why not ask? And the response was almost unanimous. Hell yes, we want a Pick'em tournament. So Coach Rich, give the people what they want. Be sure to check out MMAshare.com for that. And now, without any further delay, let's meet the Dirty Bird, Tim Means. Thank you for listening to Getting Lucky with Robert Curtis, brought to you by WhatCulture.com and powered by a global network of fans at MMAshare.com. Our guest today is a UFC fighter slated to fight on UFC on Fox 5, Henderson versus Diaz on December 8th in Seattle, Washington. This is his third fight in the promotion. He is on an 11-fight unbeaten streak with 13 KOs. He is 18-3 overall. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the pride of Wilburton, Oklahoma, the Dirty Bird, Tim Means. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Yeah, thanks for having me. How's it going?
Going pretty good. So right now you're training in Arizona. What's your week look like prior to fight week?
I got 5 miles of running in the morning, 10 rounds of mitts in the afternoon, 5 miles at night, up to making weight for the week of. Right now in this week we're practicing takedown defense and keeping my opponent at range and picking him apart with knees and my jabs. So polishing up the details, and things are right in place right now.
Is it hard to make weight? I mean, you're a big lightweight. You're 6'2", I believe, 6'1". Is it hard to hit 155?
If I do the wrong things, if I'm not dieting right and getting my practices, my runs in, it's hard. But if I'm staying consistent with practices and I'm dieting, I usually have to lose about 20 pounds, which isn't too bad. But I can get over 200 pounds pretty easily if I'm not paying attention.
Mm-hmm. So on fight night, how much will you weigh, roughly?
Fight night, I'll probably weigh about 180.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So your nickname, the Dirty Bird, where did you get that from?
Just from an amateur fight, man. I dyed my hair pink. It's supposed to be red. It came out pink, and they were throwing the flamingo around a little bit, but the Dirty Bird stuck. So I had to choose one or the other. The flamingo just wasn't my style.
Yeah, I can see that. That's hilarious. So you were born in Oklahoma. I'm actually an Oklahoma kid myself from Stillwater.
Oh,
Did you grow up in Wilburton, or did you move around? How did you?
You know what, man? I was born in Wilburton, and then when I was like a year old, my mom made the move to Moriarty, New Mexico, and I've been in Moriarty ever since. Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've been there since I was 1, so I was adopted by the New Mexicans.
Ah, gotcha. So when you were growing up, I imagine you probably got into fights and found out pretty early that you had some grit.
It kind of started off, I was getting bullied, and I just didn't like the way it felt. I wanted to learn how to defend myself, and then, I found that I had some power in my left hand, and I could make people change their mind with messing with me. So it kind of just escalated from there. I had kind of an anger problem, and you know, like I said, I wanted to give back to the people that were picking on me, so I started learning how to box and stuff, and I took it to the streets rather than putting it in the cage and be responsible about it. I was young, man. I was 17 when I started, and I just didn't accept mixed martial arts the way it should have been accepted at the time. But then again, it wasn't popular when I had started it either, you know. We didn't have commissions, and the UFC wasn't really on fire like it is now. People didn't even know if it was going to be legal in most states, but then it happened to blow up.
So what do you think it is that gives you that incredible power? I mean, the closest equivalent I could think is almost like a Tommy Hearns, because you're lanky, you've got such a long reach, but you just got insane power.
You know, my coach is constantly drilling me timing, you know, time a guy blitzing you, time a kick, time slipping a punch, and you know, I think I've been given the ability to punch hard, but the timing is what's really made me explosive and kind of stand out with my knockouts on my record.
Mm-hmm. They always say it's the punch that you don't see, so I guess just getting it right on the button is the best thing, right?
Yeah, you can't hit a home run every time, but you damn sure can hit the ball hard if you hit it right.
So you said you started fighting at 17. Is that when you started training, or is that when you had your first amateur bout?
Yeah, you know, I think I was 17, just turned 18, and then I want to say 2 months later, I took my first mixed martial arts fight, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I was really aggressive, and my coach seen potential and just started teaching me stuff from there. But you know, I've just always been really aggressive, and I think that's what's helped me set the pace and set the tone on most of my opponents. They can't keep up with that pace, you know?
Yeah. So when you're going in, I mean, obviously you're coming from a striking background and going into MMA, it must have been a little bit, I guess, terrifying, because you've got all these grapplers and wrestlers. I mean, how did you transition to having more of a complete game?
Well, people don't realize is I started out wrestling. I've been wrestling since 6th grade. So
okay.
I don't have all the college credentials and all that good stuff. I wound up dropping out of high school, but I was getting to be a pretty tough wrestler. But then boxing and Muay Thai just opened up a new world to me, and I just kind of adapted it really well. And I've kind of left my wrestling behind, but it's helped with my takedown defense and me stuffing shots and setting the tone in fights.
Yeah. Wow, that is cool. So how did you feel? I mean, when you're going from your first amateur fight, like going from the back all the way up to the ring, how does that feel, stepping in and knowing you're about to, like, I don't know, go to war with a guy?
I'm super scared, you know, like, it's not like a street fight that just happens and there's no emotion and stuff. In a street fight just happens, you start throwing punches, not thinking. When you have to wait, you have a set fight, and you have to think about it. And at first, when you're early in your career, that anxiety can get to you, you know? You have to sit there thinking about your opponent every day, and that becomes scary because you forget what you're good at, and you start thinking about what they're good at, and you forget about what you do well. So now, you know, I've learned how to be calm and just accept it, you know, put all the time in training and gotten beat up in practice. By the time the fight happens, I'm ready to give some of that beating back to my opponents, you know?
Yeah. So the mindset that you go into, do you stay, there's sort of two different ways I've seen it. Some people say, you know, I'm just going to go in and execute a game plan, and they're pretty cerebral about it. And some people get to a point where they have to sort of get to hate their opponent for that motivation. Where do you come in?
All the above. I have a game plan that I have to exploit, and then I have to find reasons not to like my opponent. So I do everything I can, every little detail in life, you know, whether you're standing in line in a grocery store and someone's rude to you, or any small little detail, to have to give it back to the guy you're about to fight. So I find ways that when I'm cutting weight, this is Abel Trujillo's fault, and I'm going to make him dislike the fact that I had to go through all this to make weight and to get into the fight with him. So it's small little details that fuel my fire, and it seems to work for me.
Yeah. That's cool. So with a guy like Trujillo, wrestler, you fought. It seems like in the UFC at least, you fight a lot of small, 5'8", 5'9", really strong, compact guys. But using your jab and your reach, you basically, I mean, you've been the answer to those types of fighters.
Yeah, but I'm training with guys that 6'2", 6'3", so I'm not just constantly sparring guys that are shorter than me. I'm sparring guys that are my height, long reaches, and I have to adapt to whatever the fight takes me. It just happens to be on fight night. The dude happens to be 5'8", but I really am used to guys that are 6'3", 6'5", 240. So just happens to be that night guys are 5'8" and 160. So.
How many amateur fights did you have before you made your pro debut?
2, I believe. I had 2, and then turned pro and winded up getting into a street fight and getting myself shot. And then I had to go to prison for a little while for some drug problems, and I punched a guy that had broken into my house, but I wound up doing it a couple days later, and that wound up getting me in some trouble and sent me to prison on misdemeanors. Wound up doing 18 months on that. Missed 4 years of mixed martial arts, and I returned in 2009 and just got real serious with wanting to pay my bills, wanting to be a role model for kids, and definitely going and talking to schools about meth problems, drug problems, and trying to push kids in the right directions.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the thing that everyone wants to ask you about, just because it's so. I mean, it's such a great story. You started off 3-2. Like you said, you took a 4-year break, came back February 28th in 2009, and since then you've basically just been on fire.
Yeah. Like I said, I wasn't taking it serious when I first started doing mixed martial arts. When I fought Spencer Fisher, I had just gotten shot. I had a 9-inch gash in my leg where it hit my femoral artery, staple still in my leg, and I went out taking a fight 2 weeks after being shot, which wasn't the smartest thing, but if you get to know my personality and stuff, I'm the type of guy that needs that kind of drama in my life. So mixed martial arts and having those fights in my life is something that keeps me going and keeps me healthy.
Yeah, I imagine going into a fight with a gunshot wound kind of puts everything into perspective in later fights. If you're making a UFC debut and you just, back in 2005, you fought with a gunshot wound, it doesn't seem as intimidating, I would imagine.
No, not being able to pay my bills and not being able to feed myself is more terrifying than anyone standing across from me. Selling isn't an option right now, and losses happen in life, but if I go in there and I try and I leave it all in the cage, then I have nothing to worry about down the road. I tried, and the outcome's the outcome.
So you came back in 2009. You recommitted yourself to the sport as the sport commands if you're going to be good. When did you know you were actually good? Like, you got a title, you got 2 titles, a junior welterweight and lightweight. When did you know you were good?
I still don't think I'm good. I just think I put in hard work, and I have that wiry ability. I'm not better than the next teammate next to me. I just go in there and, like I said, I try, man, and it just happens to work for me. But I can't look at things like that because I'd already gotten put on a pedestal where, back when I was 18, 19, I didn't have to put the work in and be a good fighter. People already put me on a pedestal that I was already great and I was already this in my community, and I stopped putting the work in the gym, and then ultimately I fell off and lost out on a few years of my life for freedom and putting training in the gym. So I can't let that get in my head. I'm not better than the next person next to me, and that's the way I look at life every day. I just want to stay humble.
I'll brag for you. You can be humble. I'll brag for you. When you made your UFC debut earlier this year, how did you feel? Did you feel different? Did it feel different?
I felt fantastic. I wound up fighting Ty Brown in King of the Cage in January. I won my 3rd belt with King of the Cage. I won my lightweight title. Really healthy. Training camp couldn't have gone better for that fight, and I think like 4 days later, I got the phone call to debut against Knuckleheads, and there was a conflict issue with his opponent, and it really just couldn't come at a better time. I was in shape, and I just had to lose like 15 pounds and get back to where I was at, and everything just fell into place. It really did.
Did you have any nerves fighting in the UFC for the first time?
I didn't. I put in so much time with King of the Cage, and then putting that camera in my face and interviews and just being put in the spotlight, King of the Cage really helped mold me. Top on, Terry Treblecott, those guys, they just really helped out. Mike Lowe, those dudes worked their butts off to get me prepared for the bigger stage, and it's really paid off.
The next fight was against Justin Salas, and that was an absolute massacre. First round, 1 minute and 6 seconds, dominated from start to finish. Is that about as good as you envisioned that fight going?
Yeah, you know, I don't try to envision fights ending that quickly. I have to be prepared for 15 minutes, but, you know, part of me visualized me knocking him out with a knee with one shot, and, you know, it just happened to, he threw a low kick to put his hands down, and I caught him with a counter. But I think what stood out for me in that fight was I was real patient with, once I got him hurt, I took my time and just chopped the tree down and got him out of the fight.
So against Abel Trujillo, like I said, another compact guy, you've got a significant reach advantage. Are you planning on exploiting some of his bad habits? Like from what I've seen, it looks like he keeps that lead hand a bit low, and with your jab and everything, it seems like he's kind of tailor-made for your strengths. You
know what? If he hasn't fixed that with the hand low, I'm going to munch that style. He'll be lucky to get out of the first round, to be perfectly honest. I do really well with the boxers that hang their hands low like that, and I feel my hands are pretty fast, and I feel I'm very accurate. And if he hasn't fixed that style, he's not going to like the first round of that fight.
Yeah, and there's a good chance, because this is a Fox card, if you get a nice finish, there's a good chance you could actually end up on the actual main card as an in-between fight that they rebroadcast. Is that any more incentive for you to try to put on an exciting show?
You know, I always want to put on an exciting show. I always try my best. But I'm on Facebook in the UFC. You know, I have the coolest job in the world, and, you know, I could fight very last after the main event, backstage in the locker room if that's what they wanted me to do. And I'm happy, man. I got a cool ass job, and I can't complain on that.
Yeah. So one of the things that in the last year that kind of came up was whether or not the UFC was paying their fighters appropriately. And there's show fees, there's win fees, there's the discretionary bonuses that Dana gives to fights, fighters that perform well. But there's also a substantial amount of marketing dollars that you can get with your walkout clothes at the weigh-ins, your banner, all that stuff. I just following you on Twitter, I noticed that you actually got a couple of sponsors, bestchickenwings.com and fearthefighter.com.
Is that
yeah,
go ahead.
Is that a substantial boost to your to the money that you can make on a UFC event, or is that more just a little bit of icing?
You know, I don't really know. That's the first time I've really worked with these guys. It's for this fight. I know Hayabusa's been taking care of me. I have the Elite Pro Series that they're on my gear for this fight. Who else was there? I'm forgetting somebody, but they seem to be taking care of me, and you know, I can't complain. I went from fighting for $200 and $500 to, you know, I'm going to make $10,000 to show up and just make weight. So. You know, I can't complain, and I really can't be greedy, but some guys seem to be a little upset with the amount of money they're making.
Yeah, I mean, they can be upset, but they can't really. I mean, UFC is really the only game in town. I mean.
Yeah, and you know why? If you can't live within your means, then, you know, stop spending all your damn money. You know what I mean? So at some point, people are going to have to take responsibility on themselves and be like, hey, I'm a dumbass. I spent $30,000 in a month, and that's my fault. But a lot of people like to point the finger and blame other individuals for their mess-ups, and that's never been one of my problems.
Do you have to work part-time in between fights, or can you fully devote yourself to training?
Yeah, I'm fully devoted to training. I don't want to do nothing else, and I have plenty of supporters behind me, people that have helped me stay in the gym and get to Albuquerque. And it's a struggle. My girlfriend's also a pro fighter. She defends her world title Saturday in King of the Cage in Cortez. So, you know, it is a struggle to be fighters that are starting off and trying to get through that door to make it, but at the same time, struggling makes your character and really build who you are in life, you know. So I don't want to go to McDonald's or have to work because I don't have an education, you know. So I find ways to get to the gym and teach private lessons and enjoy life. And I'm just loving every minute of it.
I've got some questions from our friends over at MMAsure.com. If you don't mind, I'll just read them off to you. Here's one that you kind of already touched on, but any weaknesses or bad habits of your opponent that you'll really try to capitalize on? That's from Waftist.
I'm going to test Trujillo's heart. I don't think he has the cardio to be in the big league, and I'm just going to test his heart, see if he really wants to fight or if he's just one of those dudes that look cool with a cool physique, and deep down he's pretend. So I'm going to find out next Saturday.
Has Trujillo been trash talking a bit? Or have you heard anything?
No, actually, no. You know, I kind of look for that kind of fire to help fuel me. Guys getting confident, but he looks to be real respectful, and he looks like he's a really hard worker, and he likes to flex and do all that cool stuff. And I don't have the muscles for that, but he seems to be really respectful.
Yeah. After the fight, even if there's bad blood or talking, after the fight, is all the animosity gone once you've gone to war with somebody?
Yeah, you know, I haven't really ran into an individual that I want to hit after the fight. So once the ref stops the fight, it stays in the cage, you know, and that just comes down to being professional and leaving it at work, you know.
Yeah. Here's a question. This is from Nick Doda. Do you get hit on more now that you're a UFC fighter by women? I know you said you had a girlfriend, but
yeah, it happens. Girls kind of don't care that you have a fiance or a soon-to-be wife, but you know, I respect my lady, and you know, it's all about Brenda to me. So that girl's helped keep me in line, keep me on the straight and narrow, and I have to respect her for that because she's been with me, and I hit rock bottom, and you don't find too many girls that are going to stick by you whenever you hit rock bottom and have to come back up. But she's done that for me, and I respect her for that.
So she was actually with you while you were in prison? I mean, you guys were dating when you were in prison?
No, I wasn't with her when I was in prison, but I've been through other things in my life after prison, you know, partying and being a dumbass, and she's been there. But the thing with Brenda and her family, I've known them since I was like 2 years old. Her mom used to change my diapers, and you know, I've known the whole entire family, so they've always been supportive no matter where I've been in my life, and that really does mean a lot to me.
An interesting turn of events with the UFC, they've actually brought in female fighters. Is that something that you think is a future for your fiancée? I think, did you say her name was Brenda?
Yeah, Brenda Gonzalez, and yeah, absolutely. She has a great work ethic. She's one of those few women that have one-punch knockout power in her hands, and you know, she really is talented, 125 pounds, and she is ripped. The girl, I hope my kid has her physique and my meanness, and we'll have a badass kid. So, you know, I definitely think it's in her cards to, if they open up the division in the UFC, she could be one of those females. Ronda Rousey and them have to set the tone, and my hat's off to those girls. Good job for them for getting into the UFC and working their butts off to accomplish that.
Yeah, no doubt. Being in the UFC, do you get a lot of knuckleheads that, like guys that try to challenge you to fight just to say you know, whether they took a punch from a UFC guy or anything like that?
All the time.
All the time?
All the time, you know.
How do you handle that?
You just have to blow it off. I'll give them my business card and be like, well, I teach private lessons. Come down, sign a waiver. You're up, you know. Jokingly, but you have some of that. Like, I don't go to bars and stuff no more because I live in a small town, and people start getting that liquor courage, and you know how it is. So you just have to roll with the punches. I'm not one of those muscular guys, and I'm not one of those guys that look like a fighter. So sometimes I just have to chuckle and let it roll off.
Yeah. You may not look like a fighter or have, like, you know, like you said, Trujillo's type of physique, but you definitely have a very nice stare down. I gotta give you props for that.
Thanks.
Has anyone ever taken you up on the private lessons, or once the liquor wears off, they just sort of sense up?
Yeah, I actually have. I picked up 2 clients that were pretty drunk and hungover. You know, they come over, and I put them through the ringer, made them do a bunch of cardio, and they actually fell in love with being able to train, and I've actually helped a couple guys quit drinking that were pretty bad alcoholics. So, I'm proud of those guys. Got Glenn and Doug, and, they've done well for themselves, and they've straightened their lives out with mixed martial arts. Their family life's gotten better with their kids and with their wives. So mixed martial arts saved lives. So I'm proud of those guys.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's one thing to go to prison and be a recovering addict and put yourself in a better situation. But I really have to applaud you, because it really seems like you've gone a step beyond that, and that you're trying to use your success and your skills as a fighter to really help other people. Case in point, helping other people get off of alcohol through mixed martial arts. I mean, that's really noteworthy. That's a great story.
Yeah, thank you.
Another question. Do you feel like there's any sort of pressure, or either organizationally or from the fans, to be an exciting fighter and risk losing, or to win but be safe?
Yeah, winning and being safe and laying and praying, that's not my style. And just me naturally, I go for it. I take risks, and no pressure at all. It's just my style, and I'm willing to leave it all in the cage, win or lose, and I'm not afraid to lose. If it happens, it happens. But at the end of the day, people will be talking about my fight, and they'll be saying, hey, did you see this, or did you see that? Or did you see Timmy get armbarred? They're going to talk about it, win or lose, and that's what's cool.
My apologies. That last question was from XMirror, NX from MMAshare.com. Another question for you. What do you think about the fans? Do you feel like fans, by and large, are fickle, because after a fighter sort of puts it out there and risks losing and maybe picks up 2 losses, the fans sort of turn on them? Or do you think they should be a little bit more loyal to a fighter that's really trying to put on a good show?
Yeah, people need to be loyal. There's no loyalty out there, and I think fans can be assholes. So, excuse my language, but
you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, just because a dude loses doesn't mean you have to turn your back on him and be shady. That's how I found out who were my friends and who wasn't. When I went to prison and hit the lowest part, or hit rock bottom, I found out who was real and who wasn't. The people that stuck by me, my family, and were like, hey, it's going to be okay, we'll get through this together. They're the real individuals, and I think there's some real shallow fans out there, and they only want to see you win. But it comes down to, hey, man, I'm getting in there to fight, and you need to respect that, because it's real easy to critique somebody sitting at home on a couch, drinking a beer, eating some nachos,
Yeah. So after the Trujillo fight, I saw an interview where you said you hadn't yet hit your prime. When do you think you'll hit your prime?
I don't know. I don't have a clue. All I know is I got to keep putting my training in and keep enjoying my job. I think as long as that happens, sky's the limit. And I can peak when I'm 37, or I can peak tomorrow. I'm just not sure when any of that will happen. I just have to keep learning and stay a student in the game.
Another question from a guy whose username is 64250. My username, if that were the case, would be 58160. His question is, if you could pick a top-level lightweight in the UFC, obviously not considering who has the belt or not, who do you think you would match up the best with?
Donald Cerrone. I
actually agree. I was talking with some people earlier, and that'd be a great fight between 2 strikers. I'd love it.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you'd be a great matchup for Nate Diaz as well.
Yeah, I think Nate and I have a similar style, but I have more power in my hands.
Definitely.
I just really think that he's a grinder, and he's a guy that likes to fight, and that is exciting. He gets in your face, he talks trash to you, and I love those fights. I love the drama on those fights, and it couldn't be a more exciting fight in my eyes, for sure.
Who's been the toughest fight you've had so far?
You got Dom O'Grady, and you have a guy named Ricky Moosegrave. Fought Ricky Moosegrave with a couple injuries. I had a hip injury in that fight. The dude leg kicked the crap out of me. I fought Dom O'Grady when I first started cutting weight for real, and my body hadn't adjusted to it very well. And we fought for a super fight title with King of the Cage, and I hit him with everything I could, and I just couldn't get the guy out of the fight. And those 2 guys really helped mold who I am and make me confident with those fights. They're really grueling fights.
You fought Dom O'Grady twice. The first one was a draw. The second one was a split decision. In that draw, you were penalized for an illegal elbow. What do you think about the current unified rules in the judging?
Well, first off, the elbow wasn't illegal. The refs sucked, number one. And number two, the unified rules, they're cool. You know, just I like the fact that the refs stay out of stuff. You know, like in boxing, they're always getting involved, touching and pushing your hands. And I like mixed martial arts refs. They don't touch you. You know, they'll talk every so often, but they stay out of the way. So that's cool.
Do you think that knees should be allowed from the ground, or people have been sort of clamoring to take elbows out because they just didn't fight on cuts? How do you feel about that stuff?
I think the people that are talking about, they never been hit with a good elbow, first off, because, you know, elbows do cut people. But if you get hit with a good elbow, elbows in fight, you know. It only takes a couple elbows to really change the tone in fighting. And why take out a weapon that you know, is that powerful, and, you know, it's a tone changer, it's a momentum changer. And the knees on the ground, you know, I'm cool with those rules. I like the head stomps, you know. That's all cool, but, you know, for people to legalize MMA in their states, it can't be that gruesome, so they have to add some rules and take some strikes out, and I understand all that. It's just to let some of the mediocre fans that, you know, really don't like to see blood and all that be involved in mixed martial arts, or say they're involved in it, so they'll add their little rules in without the head stomps and all that, just so it's not as savage, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So, have you fought in a promotion that allowed head stomps and all that, or
no,
an amateur?
No, I haven't. You know, I was wanting to get over to Japan because that's one of the fewer places that had the head stomps. Over in Singapore, you know, they had that cool show that happens over there with head stomps and head kicks. But I haven't personally been in one, but I always thought it was pretty cool, unless you're the guy getting kicked in the head, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not a fan of it.
I think that's all pretty cool.
You're fighting in Seattle on December 8th. If you could pick anywhere in the world, where would you most like to fight?
You know, I've always wanted to go to Japan, you know, overseas, you know, even go check out, like, England and stuff. Any of those places, just the traveling itself is exciting. And even with Seattle, I've always wanted to go there, and now I got an opportunity to go over there and get into a fight, check out a football game, and hang out and fish, you know. So it's cool, you know. Possibilities with the UFC are all there, so hopefully I'll get overseas.
What's it like, last question, I'll let you go. What's it like working for Dana?
I haven't even met him yet, to be honest, you know. After my fight in Omaha, I went up to, like, thank him for the opportunity or whatever, and his security guard snatched me up like I was going to stab him or something. And I was all, whoa. I just want to say thank you, you know. So I haven't even met him. I've seen him when he comes in and does his little pep talk, go, guys, go, you know, fight for the bonus, that crap. But I haven't even met him or even shook his hand, so I really don't know. Joe Silva's awesome, so I talked to him more. So as for Dana White, I haven't talked to him, but he writes me checks, and I'm thankful for that.
Is it a little funny to have Dana White come in and give you guys sort of this go fight pep talk when he's not a fighter?
You know, not really. He's the one writing the checks, and that's what he wants to see. So I guess if you're the guy with the money in your pocket, you get to talk, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. What's your prediction for your fight with Trujillo?
I'm going to predict I'm going to knock him out. But
first round?
Be real durable, and anything can happen, but I want to knock him out and get my 14th knockout.
Sweet. Well, buddy, I certainly appreciate you coming on. Everyone be sure to check out Tim Means. He's on the Facebook card for the UFC on Fox 5. Any final message you want to throw out to your fans?
Just thanks for supporting me. Everyone's been close, always been there on my bandwagon and lifting my spirits. Thank all my sponsors. Thank my team at Fit HB in Albuquerque, my team here at Power. I couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you for supporting me.
All righty. Best of luck on your fight, Tim.
Hey, thank you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
スパーク空高く見かか合体ゲッターロボだ